Hello, welcome to Art Online with Chrysalis. My name is Jenny McConnell. Today you will need your scrapbook or paper. You'll need some cutout hearts, some glue, some lace ribbon, acrylic paints, buttons and some cutout flowers. I found some scrapbooking paper at the dollar store for only $4 for this whole pad, which is great, and I ripped out some paper already. I'm going to glue this paper down with some Liquitex that is at the Delta Art Studio. That's gel medium, and this is a hole punch from Michaels that I cut out hearts with. You just pop it in there like that and push, and out comes beautiful hearts. I had 2 different size hole punches. They can be quite pricey. However, so you could just cut out the hearts yourself, and then I put glue, Liquitex glue or gel medium, all over my wood panel here, which is an 8x8 piece of wood, by the way. You can also get the wood panels at Michaels or Delta Art or the Paint Spot. So I'm just lining that up here so that they are right along the edge of the wood panel here, and I'm putting glue on top too. So I put glue underneath and on top to make sure that it's really stuck down quite well. I decided to use some oil paints for the first time ever, but I actually don't recommend it. It's for me, I find it's really difficult to work with and very hard to clean, but I'm just having a go myself. So acrylic paint is just fine, and I'm using dark blues, light blues and white to just get a mixture of when you have dark and light colors together, it creates tone and tone and depth, and depth is what the kind of feel that we want to go for here. So I put paint this is really dark blue, by the way, and that's just again creating more depth. Looks like there's really 3-dimensional, so you can feel like you're in a living picture. I'm using paper towel also to wipe away paint. This creates again some interesting techniques for depth and texture, because the paper towel leaves an interesting pattern too when you press it down on wet paint. So I like using interesting things to create patterns and texture. I'm going to draw the head of a lady here. I'm just doing an egg shape. So think about an egg shape when you're doing a head. Not too big, because you want to fit in her body and her hair as well. And I'm just tilting her head on the side a little bit. I also put in her neck. I'm using a paper towel, which is slightly damp, just to wipe away some parts that I don't want. So her neck was a little thick, so I'm making it a little thinner. I cut out a piece of paper also from scrapbook paper, and it's just a very simple shape. So this kind of mixed media that I do is very simple. So I've done kind of a top part of her body, and I've cut out kind of a triangle shape for her skirt, her dress part. Here, and just stuck it down. Is a sheet of musical paper that I found at the Reuse Centre. The Reuse Centre is a wonderful place to go and find interesting things that you can use for scrapbooking or mixed media. I'm using burnt umber now for her hair. I like a nice little bun at the top of her head here, and just coming down the side, making her hair longer on the parts of her head here. I'm using some gold paint to highlight in her hair as well. So I looked up on the computer and I typed in wings in a Google search and found in images lots of different wings that I printed out, and now so I was just cutting out the wings that I printed out. So with my sponge, I'm getting very light yellow and I'm dry sponging. So dry sponging means not too much paint on your sponge. So if I dip my paint into my light yellow, I would also wipe it off a little bit on the plate just to not have too much paint on my sponge. And this gives a lovely effect around her and around the hearts. Usually I actually do the yellow sponging because I do a lot of yellow sponging in my paintings, and usually I put it first before I stick things on top, which makes it a little bit easier. I don't know why I chose to do it this way around. Sometimes I don't think and I just do my painting first, and then I think, oh, that's right, I was supposed to put some yellow sponging behind it, and that's what I did here. But that's okay. I think I wanted my blue to dry a little bit more too. So I'm just dabbing some off too. So what I love to do is dab on and then dab off, because it gives lots of interesting texture. Dabbing on and dabbing off using a paper towel. Also noticed that with her neck, I did some dark shading, because when your face is out further than your neck, so your neck should be a little bit darker than your face, this creates more of a 3D look, three-dimensional look. I bought a tub of flowers from Michaels, but you can cut out your own flowers on paper as well to save you some money. Also, I bought these words from Michaels, a pad of words, and what I like to do is photocopy these words. I don't like the black ones, I like the white ones, and I photocopy them, and then I enlarge the photocopies too, so that so it's even larger, and then I cut out a word and put it on my painting. So I've decided to put the word hopeful to go along with the theme that I was doing with our art journaling, and I found that word hope. And here I'm just going to paste down some lace ribbon that I found at the dollar store to finish that off, and I put a lot of paste on top, so I really want this to be sealed down and not lift back up again, so a lot of glue is required. This is a stencil. You can buy these on Amazon.ca. You can also find stencils at Michaels, but I liked these because I got a bunch of 25 for only $13. These are actually mandala stencils, but you can use them for mixed media and art journaling as well. So here I'm just using a bit of gold paint And some of the final touches I like to do is put a bit of brown around the outside of my painting. This gives it an antique look, kind of an old look, which is really effective. I'm using one of these heat blow torches, but you can use a hairdryer is fine as well, just to dry it off quickly. And then I wanted to come around with my black Sharpie pen and go around all my hearts and my flowers. And this just makes them pop out even more. And I put black marker around the word hopeful as well. Just gives it a really interesting effect and makes them stand out even more into the foreground. So we've got more depth going again with foreground and background. And the very final touches is these buttons that I found at the dollar store. I decided to put green, pink and white buttons. I need a lot of glue underneath and a lot of glue on top to really seal them down. I also found at the dollar store these wooden butterflies. They come in a pack of lots of little wooden shapes. I painted it white first and waited for it to dry, and then I glued it down. And here's a final look at my mixed media piece. So these are the things we covered today. We did cutouts or hole punching, scrapbooking, a mixed media, learning to do faceless figure, and sponging for effect and depth. I hope you enjoyed this art tutorial and you'll come back and see us again soon. Bye for now.